This is DNTO live from the Halifax Central Library, where we are also documenting our show through photographs, sort of like a picture book, which you can check out on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/yourdnto. So, you know, the act of reading a book, words across a page, stories, taking them in, sharing stories, it's so incredibly transformative. As I found out at a very early age with my grade 2 teacher, Mrs. Bomley. Now, Mrs. Bomley didn't really take a shining to kids, and she didn't really hide that fact. She was very severe. She liked throwing things and yelling. She had a mouth in the shape of a permafrown. But there was one activity during the week that Mrs. Bomley mildly seemed to enjoy. And that was when she would sit on her chair after Tuesday lunch and she would read to the entire class. And we would sit on the floor around her in a semicircle, looking up and listening to her. And she would read the most incredible books like, I don't know, like Mouse and a Motorcycle, Secret World of Og, oh yeah, Charlotte's Web. These stories just ignited our young imaginations. And you know, I have to say Mrs. Bomley wasn't such a bad reader. Now, there was one day when this boy, Cameron Smith, we all really admired him because he had this bright red hair and he could make this incredible sound. He coined this unique sound that went something like, hill. And we'd all copy him. Anyway, we all looked up to Cameron, and he was having a hard time with Mrs. Bomley, so he came up with a way to get revenge when her guard was down. And so what he did was, during that Tuesday lunch, he snuck into our classroom, and he got a whole bunch of very sharp, pointy thumbtacks, and he put them on Mrs. Bomley's chair, facing up. And word spread through the playground. And we, of course, were very eager to see what would happen. And we sat in a semicircle around her chair. And we could see the thumbtacks there. And Mrs. Bomley approaching, just like clockwork, with the book in her hand. There were the thumbtacks. There was her approaching bum. The thumbtacks, her bum. The thumbtacks, her bum. And then she stood over her chair and slowly lowered her weight down on the chair. And then, unflinching, she continued to read. Oh my gosh. It was very difficult concentrating on what she was saying that day. So a half hour later, she finishes reading, closes her book, and leaves us. And of course, we just run over to her chair. What? And with my very own eyes, I saw all of those thumbtacks completely bent over. It was the afternoon that Mrs. Bomley gained stratospheric, legendary, fearsome stature. She was the teacher with buns of steel. And in that moment, we surrendered. We waved the white flag, never to challenge her supremacy ever again. Ow! Ow! Okay, over to you, Mo, for Mo Music. Singing her heart out in the library. Here's Mo Kenny and Dancing on DNTO.